So the term minimalism can be seen almost everywhere nowadays, whether on social media like Instagram or YouTube or on Netflix documentaries. More and more people realize that they have too much stuff laying around at home which they do not use, or water full of clothes with items which have been only worn once or twice. Do you perhaps recognize yourself? But what exactly is minimalism, and it doesn't mean that you have to surrender all the things you love? Well, let me explain in the following what minimalism means to me and how my journey to a minimalist life began. So when I was around 18 years old, fashion and shopping was one of my favorite things to do. I went regularly to the mall, read fashion magazines, and always bought the newest, trendiest stuff. My closet was getting fuller and fuller over time, and I had even pieces with pricing labels in my closet that I never actually wore. So today, for me, this would be totally unimaginable. Yet, to that time, I was still young, and I did not know that also less can be more, and I was not even aware of the impact what the fashion industry and overconsumption in general had on the environment. So, over the years during my studies, I lived in many different places like the United States, the Netherlands, and the Philippines. So I was moving around to new places and apartments quite often, and I gradually downsized my belongings over time as the move became this way easier with less boxes and stuff in it. Already back then, I came to realize that I do not need to own so many things, and this feeling of owning less gave me somehow an inner peace. I know this might sound weird, but I'm sure some people understand this feeling. So at least my husband and a friend does. I've been actively trying to accumulate less stuff, and that's when I already started to change my mindset. So when I got to know my boyfriend, so my husband today, we realized that we had this common thing of being happy with less possessions. So through the conversation with him, I also learned about the idea or the term minimalism for the first time. So over time, we educated ourselves more about minimalism by watching documentaries, reading articles here and there, until we started to declutter our stuff at home time after time. We sold some stuff or donated it. So I would say that today we are very happy about the amount of stuff we have in our apartment. But does that mean that our apartment is now equipped only with a few essentials? The answer is no, and this is the point where I would like to share our personal philosophy of a minimalist life. In our opinion, minimalism does not mean that you have to live a frugal life where you only have a couch and table in the living room and no decorations or like that. In our opinion, it is okay to have also items that have no special purpose, I would say, other than adding some style to our apartment like plants do. We have realized that we probably will never be fully minimal, yet we can do our best on owning the things we need and like to keep. In the end, minimalism is also about living and consuming intentionally. So we pay carefully attention to what we buy, what we need, and whether we will actually use it. For example, my husband bought a second jeans from a sustainable brand called Nudie Jeans, although he had already one Nudie Jeans at home. Doing a retrospective now, he says that the actual benefit of the second jeans was not that big. The happiness of buying this jeans was only big in the beginning and faded away over time. So his key lesson from this was to be happy with what you already have and actually think about whether the item you want to buy has a real benefit. This is also why we take some time when we want to buy new things. 14 to 30 days or sometimes even months. So we try to avoid impulsive buying. Also, for us, it is not about buying the things that are as cheap as possible, but we pay attention to the quality and the sustainable impact. Most often, qualitative items also last longer, which is also an important aspect to us, using the item as long as possible. But how do we prioritize when we declutter? So first things first, Every journey is different and everyone makes his own personal experience. And diversity has always been a great thing. You can of course get inspirations from other like-minded people and try to adapt it to your circumstance. So generally, when decluttering, I would say that you can ask yourself the question whether you really use the item or not. For example, we had a cupboard that was full with random stuff like book, games, folders, and like that. We have asked ourselves when it was the last time since we used the item like a book and honestly pondered about whether we will use it in the near future. When the answer was no, which was almost for every item, then we sold it on eBay or donated it. In the end, we had hardly any items in the cupboard that we even sold the cupboard itself. So think of when you used an item last time. If you haven't used it for months, ask yourself honestly the question whether you will use it in the near future or at all. If the answer is no, try to sell or donate it. If you're still hesitating, you can use another technique, namely putting the items first in a box. After some time, like a month or so, you can have a look at the item in this box and decide whether you want to give it away or not. So decluttering can also take some time. So take small steps first when you're struggling. For us, it also didn't happen overnight. Especially, there are some items where we feel psychologically attached to it. It took also 2 to 3 years to declutter our closet, for instance. Here you can also read my article on Capsule Wardrobe. And I would say that I still have some pieces that I rarely use, since I bought these items long time ago and my style changed over time, of course. So I'm trying to sell them on a second-hand platform, and eventually one day I will get to that point when I'm happy about the pieces that I own in my closet. So also, again, as I said, when it comes to buying new things, we are more conscious about the things we buy, always asking ourselves whether we really need the item or not. So try it out yourself. Start small and easy by decluttering stuff where it's not hard to take the decision. I would be interested in your experience and opinion, so feel free to write down in the comments below what a minimalist life means to you. So that's from my side today. If you like this video, feel free to give me a thumbs up, and if you're new to this channel, I will be happy when you subscribe the channel to get the latest updates and informations. See you next time.